Hello and welcome to Create the Best Me. I am your host, Carmen Hecox. Today we have a special guest who's turning the narrative of menopause on its head. Meet Lil Glamben, founder of Menopausal Superpowers. With over 3 decades in behavioral health, women's empowerment, and personal development, Lil is here to share how women can harness the superpowers that emerge during menopause. A proud graduate of Holyoke College and Certified Empowerment Institute facilitator, Lil embraced her menopausal journey over a decade ago and is passionate about helping others do the same. Let's dive into this transformative conversation and discover the power within. Lil Glamben, welcome to Create the Best Me. I am so happy to have you on.
I'm so happy to be had on and to be here with you.
For those who might not be familiar with your work, can you briefly describe and introduce yourself?
Okay. So I'm Lil Glamben with Turn On Your Menopausal Superpowers. And at this point in its iteration, it's a coaching program for women who want an experience of menopause that is one of thriving, one of becoming the opportunity to become her best self and live her best life, and not just survive the symptoms to the physical symptoms that may be a part of their transition. So at this point, 7 superpowers and 7 secrets to turn them on in 7 weeks. And it's a process that begins with the woman getting in touch with what she wants at the deepest levels for this next chapter in life. It's been quite the honor, right, and the privilege, as they say, to work with women to really get in touch with that during what can be a very tumultuous time of a woman's life. And if she's on the other side, the post-menopausal side of it, it may seem like things have settled down, but the way forward may not be clear. And so to be able to help a woman get to that sense of clarity.
So before we dive into the topic, how has your personal journey influenced your perception on menopause?
Yeah, this program is definitely a response to my own experience, right? When I look back, the first 8 years, I was utterly clueless what was going on. My first symptoms were migraines. When I was about 38 years old, I had no idea that there could be any connection with anything hormonal. None. And about a year later, the insomnia began, and it was excruciatingly intense at the beginning. A kind of a waking up with intensity from like midnight every hour and a half. And again, I had no clue. It was coincidentally, it happened around the time of 9/11, and I was living on the East Coast. And so I thought it might somehow be some kind of trauma response to what had happened. So that was in 2001. And then fast forward, I didn't get my first hot flashes until I was 45 years old. And I was in New York City at the time in a very demanding job in the women's movement field. And it was just, there was so much stress and demand. And so anything I was experiencing, I associated it with the requirements of the job. It was one of those kind of jobs where you're working 80 hours a week and just working all the time. And it didn't occur to me. It wasn't until the hot flashes came that something's going on here. Oh, the third symptom was anxiety. So I was having anxiety attacks, which I associated with the job. So all of this I was experiencing on my own. Around this time, my best friend from college started talking about menopause. And I was not going through that. And I would even try to stop her from going on and on about it. Like, that's nice that you're going through menopause, but that has nothing to do with what I'm going through because I'm too young. I was just clueless. And then within about a year or two, I looked into it. Within a year, I looked into it. And perimenopause was the first time I had heard of it. And of course, it was a revelation. And the first books that caught my eye were The Wisdom of Menopause by Christian Northrup, Dr. John Lee series of What Your Doctor May Not Have Told You about menopause, perimenopause, And I remember just feeling floored. How did I not know this? And by that point, I think I even sent out this blast of an email that all the women that I knew, trying to put it on their radar. I was so stressed that I resigned from that very stressful job to take a trip to Hawaii. And I realized the first vacation I had in a while where I just was just completely unplugged. And that was August of 2008. And this is not even begin to capture the emotional, spiritual, psychological dimensions of what I was experiencing. This is just the facts, just the physical experiences that were very dramatic. But there was another dimension of it as well, and came to Sacramento. I wasn't far from you, to be a good daughter to my mother, who was 93 at that point, and to help with her care. And I menopaused during that part while I was also giving care to others. And this is not unusual, where often the case where women are menopausing at the same time as we're caring for others, whether it's children or parents. And so the attention to one's own physical needs may be obscured, maybe distracted, because we're caring for others and demanding jobs and all that sort of thing. And so when I menopaused, it didn't seem to be that big of a deal. But all these things happened. And once again, if there's a theme about the whole experience, is finding out about physical symptoms long after they had begun, and what a difference it would have made to have information, to have support, even just for the physical, let alone the emotional, psychological things that were going on. In terms of the moment that really helped me sit down again and rest and recharge. And I realized then that something is going on here where I don't have as much energy to both heal and to also carry on. So I learned to say no to things again, but I learned that because of the energy, the difference in my energy levels. And I think those are the main stages. Yeah, perimenopause, menopause, post, and I'm 61 now. And I would say the last 3 or 4 years, things have definitely all around gotten better. There's a kind of a leveling out that finally happened, certainly emotionally, spiritually, in the last maybe 4 or 5 years. Physically, of course, there was the kind of weight issues, but I found that if I took a more moderate view to my health, of working with my body, but that I was coming into a different relationship with myself, one that was more mindful of my body, more of a partnership with my body, more checking in and feeling where I am energetically. And that's made a huge difference, and not overdoing. So, yeah, but that was a long answer to your question.
And I think that's so interesting. I think it was episode 24. Yeah, episode 24. I spoke with Jack Perez. She's the founder of Cool Life. And he talked about that. It seems like a woman's health, we have so much information about this stage where we're having babies, and that becomes very important. But it seems like the discussion about menopause and who we are as we approach perimenopause, who we are when we're in menopause, and life after menopause is something that it almost seems like it's not important. And so a lot of us women, I feel, is that it's like we're not important anymore because we're not having babies. But this is so important. Women, we all go through menopause differently. Some women, I don't know very many, say, I don't even know what it was like to go through it. I wish I could say that was me, but that's not me. But there's a lot of ambiguity as to what to expect because we all go through it differently. And what I like about you is that you have done tons of research and you have taken a more positive spin to menopause. And you talk about that these are superpowers. And then you talk about how we can use these superpowers to empower us. So let's talk about that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my stance has been from what you just shared, and I have found that it doesn't resonate with women because it's not the experience that they're having. So I've been having these conversations with others who are thinking with me about this dilemma and how to meet women where they are before launching into the part that I'm so excited about. Because yes, I had all the physical challenges that I just mentioned, then when I think about that was over like a 15-year process. But on this side of all of that, I can say absolutely that I am becoming my best self, living my best life. All of the inner work, all the spiritual growth, personal development work that I had done, started in my 30s and 40s, it's coming to bear since I'm menopause. Now, it's not a guarantee. That's why they call them superpowers, and you have to turn them on. Because I'll give you one example. Going back to how the program, the Turn On Your Menopausal Superpowers program works, it starts with a woman getting in touch with her deepest desires at the soul level for herself and her life moving forward. And so then we call that her personal North Star. That's where we're heading. And it's, of course, for many women who have been after a lifetime of attending to the needs and the dreams of others, this can be some deep excavation work, but it's a very powerful process. So then once that happens, then all of the other tools of the program, the superpowers and the secrets to turn them on, are in service of getting the woman to her North Star. An example of one of the superpowers, I won't go into all of them. The second one is authenticity. And being honest, I'm sure you've seen online that a lot of little videos about women that sometimes are cursing. I don't give a, you know what, I don't care anymore. I don't care what people think. And I just say what I want to say. And that's in of itself, it's a liberation to really not care like we used to about people pleasing and jumping through hoops. But what makes it a superpower is when we use that truth and that authenticity in service of our deepest dreams. And so the superpowers are looking at these organic developments that seem to arise. If you look at the collective narrative of women telling their own experiences of what are the benefits of menopause, there is this truth telling. There is another one, for example, is wisdom, life experience becoming wisdom. But just because you get older, just because you have experience, doesn't make you wise. It's a choice. I mean, because we all know at least one old fool. Very true. Age alone does not guarantee wisdom. But at some point for a woman, that collecting of life experiences, it's like if we were putting ingredients into a pot, it becomes soup. It's like it becomes this stew. It's this integrated knowledge that we have, and it helps us see the future with confidence and with insight and how to relate to other people. And so just having life experience. So these superpowers are what becomes more available. And I know for myself, there were superpowers I aspired to when I was younger, but I was young. I meant well, but many of these had become more available. And especially with these best practices, what I call the secrets. The secrets are almost as important as the superpowers themselves because they're the keys to unlock them. But the thread is women learning a whole new level of self-care, especially, as I said before, women who have been there for others, what I like to call big-hearted women that have either on the home front, but also the work front, a lot of, whether it's in the helping professions, teaching, nursing, nonprofit, public sector. There are other ones as well of women who have lived their lives caring for the needs of others. That's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's being of service is, I think, what we're here to be and do. But what I've learned is that helping is not the same thing as being of service. And when we help from an empty well or an empty cup, maybe we can get away with that when we're in our 20s, our 30s, our 40s. But when we get to, as we transition into menopause has a way of sending a message that it's time for us to learn how to do things differently. The program is one that helps support women to do things differently at the personal level, what one is doing in terms of one's personal self-care, at the relationship level, because a lot of our stress is in our relationships. And then what I call the big picture level, and to be really looking at our futures in a new and empowered way. And it's exciting. Again, the tools, the concepts really do derive from experience, mine and that of other women that I know personally and others that I've admired who really are coming in to a harvest season of our lives, of really being able to reap the beauty of what we have seen in terms of relationships and the expression of our talents and being in right relations with others. So I'm excited. I hope that answers your question.
What was the aha moment that led you to believe that menopause could be associated with a superpower?
Well, I'll tell you, the process was an aha. So the aha moment, yeah, there was something about the conversations we were having. And when I'm looking at the terrain of just overwhelming negativity around menopause, that's not my truth. And then the desire to be a way shower for other women and then to find the language to engage women because there's so much negativity. There's so much stigma around menopause. There's so much and I'm finding increasingly just how taboo the topic is. And what I'm finding these days is that even women who've been through it on this side, they don't want to talk about it necessarily. They're like, oh, I've been through that. But for every, I don't know, I'll just throw out a number, every 5 women that may be like that, I'll meet a woman who's like, yes, I know what you're talking about. Life is sweeter. I am my better self. Or they'll say it in their own way. I'm a happier person now. I'm a much happier person now. And knowing that's not a promise. It's like how to help other women turn that on for themselves. Because it's not a given that you'll be a happier person on this side of menopause. There are things that we can do to support the process, and there are things that we can do to work against it, right? And how to share that information so that more women have that experience of being happy and joyful and optimistic and feeling beautiful and all the things that matter to us and in touching people's lives, but in a way that doesn't drain us. And so, yeah, so that's the
How do you think
journey.
recognizing these superpowers can change the narrative around menopause for women?
Oh, that's a great question. Because it's everything. It's like because the overwhelming narrative around menopause is that it's negative, that you're declining, that you're losing it. Even the way women talk about, oh, I'm losing it, and because you've forgotten your keys. That self-abuse that we commit over relatively trivial things, like where are my keys? Where is this? But it's a snowball effect of negativity. I had this experience on World Menopause Day. I hosted an event called Together Through Menopause, and a woman that I know brought another woman who was really struggling. She was having some tensions at work where she's been there a long time. She can do it with her eyes closed, but her supervisors were making her feel incompetent or like she was losing it. And she came to the event. We had this experience. It was amazing. And it's like she was 20 years younger at the end of the evening. She was empowered. She was lit up. The reframing of who she really is beyond the temporary opinion of her supervisor, helping her get in touch with what really matters to her and what she sees for herself is what she wants to be putting her attention. It was like watching a mask or a costume come off. Again, that she had come in so tense, so demoralized, and she was beaming. And that can happen at the individual level. And it can happen at the group level. We can help each other with that. And it's like look at you, look how beautiful and radiant you are. It's like, I'm 61 and again, and no plastic surgery, no expensive beauty treatments, whatever but it's this inner beauty and empowerment and radiance that we share with each other. We're giving each other beauty treatments right now by sharing this energy of positivity. And it's not just positivity. Oh, let's just say wishful affirmations that we don't really believe. No, it's really, again, when we tap in to what we feel our purpose is, like why we were born, what we came here to do, and that there's a possibility that what if we need our menopausal superpowers to be able to fulfill that sense of calling, that sense of purpose. So we tap into that no, you didn't miss it. It's not over. No, this is the beginning. So if you have a dream that's still in your heart, this is what I really want to be doing. It's for you to actualize. You're not out to pasture. You're just getting started. It flips everything around. Let's lay the foundation for its implementation. What does that look like to unfold in partnership with other women? It's, again, this vision of new beginnings and doing the work of taking the vision, but that's the vision of women catching this possibility. We have possibilities at this stage of life that have never existed before. We're a part of a new paradigm. We're part of a new set of opportunities. Yeah, we're on a frontier, and you've been a part of laying the foundation for it. So thank you for that, for what you're doing here in this podcast and your blogs and everything. It's like we're tapping in to a new vision.
So, without giving the program away, can you tell us a little bit about your course, Menopause 7 Superpowers, 7 Secrets to Turn On? What can participants learn? But don't tell us everything. Just give us a little teaser out there.
You got it. You got it. Well, like I said, again, I mentioned a couple of other superpowers. So there are 7 that are shared with women to be able to reflect upon, and there are exercises to develop a stronger relationship with each one of them, to identify the ones that are already strong and the ones that could make the most difference. There's a way of looking at them and which ones would be most impactful in my life at the personal level, at the relationship level, and at envisioning one's place in the world. And then when it comes to the 7 secrets, again, the first 4 at the personal level. So it really does start with the self. And then there's the middle of the program is looking at the woman's relationships, both in the workplace and in one's personal life, whether it's romantic, whether it's family, looking at whether or not our relationships are supporting our well-being during the menopausal transition. I will say this, and this was an epiphany that feels like it's something that wants to be known, whether or not a woman does the program or not, because when it came to the relationship module, I was going in a completely different direction. It was like I was pulled back. No, I was supposed to see this and share this, that women coincidentally are entering this stage of life when we are also reaching career peaks. If they don't work outside the home, it's peaks of responsibility, maybe with caregiving or other responsibilities in the community. But we just happen to be at a point where we're gaining mastery. And so with that mastery comes more responsibility towards others, just when we need our energies for ourselves. And so the next thing that was clear that so many women reach these stages of responsibility, but don't have the supports in place. So often, even women with fancy titles, VP of this, president of that, executive director, CEO, so often women do not have the supports in place. And I try not to make this a gender war kind of thing, but it's just that men tend to have more support administratively in terms of deputy directors, whatever kinds of team roles. They tend to surround themselves. They tend to have more resources allocated, both in terms of personnel, in terms of budgets, to help them do what they do well. Whereas so often women take the same titles and might take the money, might take the promotion, but don't demand the kind of support that they need to be truly successful and also be able to thrive in terms of their health at the physical, spiritual, and emotional level. So it's almost like, in many cases, it can be almost like a perfect storm, like a setup for women. And so the program is very much geared towards helping a woman course correct if she's in that situation, and how to look at all of her relationships, her partner relationships, her work relationships, her family relationships in a different light, to see how she can shift her way of participating in her own demise and still be loving, and still make sure that the things that she cares about and the people that she cares about are being cared for properly, but in a way that also makes sure that she's prospering and that she's abundant in energy, time, money, or whatever. Because so often this is a struggle for women. A lot of women in this situation, if I don't do it myself, it won't get done properly. And so the need to control can be as much a condition as anything else. Even a woman who has the resources can feel like, no, I can't trust someone else to do it as well as I would do it. But if there's another imperative that I would put on this work, is that, and this is from personal experience, too often it takes a woman getting very ill or getting injured or burnt out, exhausted, flatlined before she will get the message to do things differently. And so this program is designed to support her coming back into her sense of balance, back into her sense of being able to navigate. I don't want to say control, because I think control is part of how we get here, but to be able to navigate the demands of her life and also the demands of joy. So often what happens is, in order to meet all of these responsibilities, women self-sacrifice. We self-sacrifice, and we sacrifice the things that give us the most joy, especially if it involves, I need to go away to do it. I have to leave. I can't go. And the importance of joy during this process cannot be overstated. If there's anything, when women are in the worst part of this, or overwhelmed and burdened and depleted and blaming menopause. Sometimes I feel like menopause is getting a bad rap, because what if menopause is happening for us and not to us? That compulsive doing that overdoing and running around. And what I'm finding working with women is that even if women appear to not be compulsively doing, like running around physically, because of technology, we're running around in our minds. We're interfacing with all of these devices and apps. And there's a kind of a sedentary running around that we're doing that can be as depleting, as stressful, demoralizing. There is a cumulative effect when we are spending too much time in these virtual interfaces and realities and trying to keep up with all the latest innovations and constantly feeling like we're having something to learn and we don't know how to do it well. And so learning how to come into right relationship with oneself, especially in relationship, I think, because here's the thing, if we're doing all of that and it's not serving our purpose and that sense of what we're here to do, it can be very demoralizing for a woman. It can be very demoralizing. And the program is designed to reboot, to rebirth, to reconnect with that which is most important and to give the tools to be able to stay on that path towards its fulfillment. So that, again, to be able to look forward to the future, a woman's individual future, but also the collective future. So I hope I didn't give too much away.
Who do you think is the ideal person that this course was designed for? Would it be women that are currently in premenopause or in menopause, or can this benefit any woman wherever she's at within her journey?
So this requires a woman aligning with, again, with her deepest desires and needs and dreams and destiny, much more than mani-pedis. And through that, seeing the way forward. And those tools are helpful for a woman perimenopausal, in the middle of the menopausal transition, and post-menopausal. The superpowers themselves, they are good for any woman, but a perimenopausal woman, they have trouble with them, especially like the one I had already mentioned, like less compulsive doing. In the midst of a woman in her 40s may feel like she has the energy that she needs to go running around the block, that she needs to climb a mountain, she needs to express herself in a very dramatic way. So the idea of less compulsive doing may not be in alignment with perimenopause, but there are superpowers to tap into. And I'm going to be creating something along those lines, because I'm sure you've had other guests that have mentioned this analogy of like menopause and butterflies.
No, I don't think so. Not yet.
No? Oh, if you start looking at some menopause companies and some products or services, you'll start noticing that they have butterflies. This sense of coming through this experience of the cocoon and coming out flying, which is very much how I have felt. And so the perimenopausal superpowers would be more like what the hungry caterpillar, go for it, the expression of connecting with life force, creativity. A lot of times women talk about heightened libido during this period and like how to channel that in a way that's constructive. I know of more than one marriage, I know of several that have come apart during this stage of a woman's transition, that where she requires more than she may have ever required, just that kind of sense of possibility of a new level of intimacy and all those sorts of things. And so how to channel that. Again, if you're in a relationship that you want to survive and to thrive, what does that look like to take that energy and keep it inside of the marriage and have that relationship blossom? And again, what does it look like to tap into that creativity when you may, again, be very busy with both a career that's on the rise and maybe even younger children? What does it look like to make that time your own unique expression while you're attending to all of those other responsibilities? So the superpowers look a little different on that side of menopause. That there's this idea of women, like especially since COVID, like women leaving in droves from the corporate, the medical, education, the workforce in various ways because of just, I'm done with this. I'm done with feeling disrespected, undervalued, overworked, all these things, and they're leaving. And one of the articles that I just saw last week was that at least 1 out of 10 are probably due to menopause, even if they didn't say it as part of their explicit reason for leaving to their employer, at least 1 out of 10. So that this idea of leaving, like having to leave work in order to find balance, and that's not necessarily a retirement, but for many women, like I'm done with that, I'm through, and I'm retiring. Well, what's happening is that there's so many women who are reaching retirement age who are still relatively youthful. And the idea of quote unquote doing nothing for the next 20, 30 years, that's not something that is appealing to us. So there's this whole other way of what does it look like to re-envision what's possible where you are still making a contribution in a field of expertise that you do care about, but not working the way you used to work. So the program is designed to help a woman reimagine what's possible for her at this stage of life. Is it part-time? Is it solopreneur? Is it entrepreneur? Is it writing something? Whatever it is, if you took a moment to reflect and really get your value, we're arriving at this stage of life really with mastery. And you would think that the workforce, both the private and the public workforce, would realize what's being lost by this brain drain, by this brain trust that is leaving in droves because of work culture that is not conducive to us at this stage of life. The program helps a woman reimagine some of those possibilities. So it really is an opportunity for a woman beyond just symptom management and reducing hot flashes, which is really important. I don't want to minimize that, but there's so much more to the experience of menopause. There really the opportunity to come into one's own that the program is very much focused on supporting the woman in.
Where can the listeners or viewers find more information about you, your program, or resources that you offer?
So I have a couple of websites. There's the Menopausal Superpowers.com. That's Menopausal Superpowers.com. And if that's too long, it's also lilglamben.com, LILGLAMBEN.com. And that gives some information about the approach. And if you want to just go ahead and book a free consultation, a menopause and stress makeover consultation, the shortest website is calllil.com. So that's CA3LIL.com. So yeah, calllil.com. And you can find me on social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. And would love to be a resource to any woman who's feeling any combination of these messages around both, yes, the physical aspect. And again, I'm not a medical or science health expert, so I don't give medical advice. I'm not going to suggest hormonal replacement therapy or not, but I will help you. In fact, there's a part of the program that is dedicated to connecting you as a woman with your own inner guidance, your own intuitive guidance around how to listen to your body, how to listen to menopause, and let that new awareness, that heightened awareness, help inform you and empower you when you seek information, when you interact with doctors, when you go online and look at Google, that you'll have more confidence, you'll have more of a sense of what is in your own best interest. But again, I don't give that kind of advice. But if you are interested in all the other parts of this journey, then I would love to talk with any woman that has that interest. And I hope before we go, I'll get a chance to say something about the 7th.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, because again, if this also resonates with anyone who's listening, we who are going through menopause or who have menopause today, a woman living who has gone through this initiation, we are part of something that has never happened before in all of human history. Utterly unprecedented when it comes to quantity, quality, longevity, relative usefulness, and control of wealth and resources. So the first one is quantity. There have never been so many women who are alive at the same time who have started menopause. In the United States, there are over 50 million of us, with 1.3 million being added every year. We are over 1 out of 6 of the population in the United States. Why do we feel invisible? It doesn't even make sense. We are a mighty army. When it comes to the world population, we are almost 1 billion in the world. We're almost 1 out of 8. So in terms of quantity, this has never happened before. Quality, there has never been so many women who've reached this stage of life, so independent, educated, professional, with lived experience. This has never happened before in all of human history. I get chills every time I say it. Those two just alone, it's, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Why aren't we hearing more about this? The third one is longevity. A woman now living can look forward to over 1/3 of her life, our life, being spent after we've menopause. Over 1/3. Compare that to 1900, where, according to the U.S. Census, the average life expectancy for a white woman was 48.7. For a Black woman, 33.5. We were lucky to get to menopause. In 1900, I don't think we were the main groups that were being counted in the census. Fast forward 120 years, the average life expectancy is just around 80 years old, 75 for a Black woman. For Black women, we've more than doubled, like 2.5 times the life expectancy. So when it comes to the experience of menopause, just a few generations back, we were lucky to have ancestors who made it to this stage of life. It's amazing how much progress we've made in such a short period of time. We control like over 27% of all spend, like $15 trillion. So why are we being ignored? So any one of these phenomena would be amazing. Wow, those are just the 5 I'm seeing. There may be some others. I just haven't seen them yet. And we are on the threshold. We are part of this new paradigm shift. It hasn't been identified yet. It hasn't been exploited yet by corporate interest. But hopefully we as women, we will capture this opportunity and ask the question, what are the new opportunities? What are the new possibilities that have never existed before? And so imagine, what if we turned on our superpowers together? What are the unimaginable different things that we can bring into being? What would society look like if it really valued this talent, this wisdom in such a relatively youthful path? What would that look like? And here's the thing, COVID, if it taught us anything, we can do things very differently, quickly, if we have to. So what would it look like to engage all of this talent of women? What if we have not existed before? We're a new social creature. We're a new being that has never existed in all of human history. So it's very exciting. So that's the enthusiasm, that's the joy that I hope to spread around this transition, and all the powers and the superpowers and the radiance and the joy that is waiting to be tapped in our generation and the generation of women to come.
I will include all of your information in my show notes. But I have one more question to ask you. Lastly, what are the one key takeaways you'd like our audience to remember from this interview? What would that be?
That you are being presented with an opportunity, like with the Matrix, with the red pill and the blue pill. And the real thing is that if you put the pills together, red and blue is purple, that you are being presented with this opportunity to step into your your whole body, mind, spirit fulfillment of who you really are through this passage. Whatever you can do every day to be reminded of your inner beauty, your talent, your capacity to love, and every day to tap and to connect with things that bring you joy and love. That in and of itself is a form of self-care that I hope, just from listening, I hope you'll think of one thing you can do between now and the time that you go to bed that brings you joy,
Well, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. I love it. Lil, thank you so much for coming on. Again, I will include all of your information in the show notes so that people, if they were unable to write all of your different websites down or how to schedule a free consultation with you, they can just go to my website, grab that information, and connect with you, because you are a resource of information, especially for women like me who are currently in menopause.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this beautiful platform and the way you are doing what you're doing. Before we went on, the care with which you create these blog posts about your guests. I've never seen anything like it. The way you are lifting up other women. This kind of support, this is also part of the magic of unlocking our superpowers. We need each other in this way to support each other, to lift each other up, to acknowledge each other's gifts. At this point, maybe when we were younger, whatever kinds of competitive, jealous, whatever kind, we come to the stage of life and like, Carmen, what you do so beautifully, I can acknowledge you, I can honor you for what you do, and I don't have to compete with that. We get to this point where we each see place in the circle, and your place of what you're doing is just spectacular. And I'm so honored to be a part of your expression in this paradigm shift.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
As we wrap up today's enlightening episode, let's reflect on Lil's empowering message. We are fortunate women equipped with knowledge, skills, and making up a significant part of the world's tapestry. Remember, menopause isn't just happening to us, it's happening for us. It's an invitation to embrace change and evolve into the best version of ourselves. For more details on Lil and her insights shared today, head on over to createthebestme.com/EP 052 for our show notes. And don't forget to come back next week, where we'll delve into the topic of divorce, a conversation you won't want to miss. Make sure to subscribe to Create the Best Me so you're always in the loop with our latest episodes. Until then, keep dreaming big, take care of yourself, and remember, you are beautiful, strong, and capable of creating the best version of yourself. Thank you for watching. Catch you next week. Bye for now.